Are you stuck hoping that someone will finally change? I was until it nearly broke me. If you've been carrying the heavy burden of an unchangeable reality, this video's for you. I know exactly how this feels because for years I struggled with my ex-husband's inability to co-parent, which left me feeling exhausted and alone, constantly wishing things were different. In this video, I'm sharing how to practice radical acceptance using 3 powerful skills. And I'm sharing the story of how I let go of the expectations that my ex-husband would co-parent and finally accept my situation as a single parent with no help. I desperately wanted him to step up and be the co-parent that I thought he should be, but no matter how much I hoped or pleaded, nothing changed. This constant struggle was really tearing me up inside, both physically and emotionally, and I knew I had to find a way to let go. But how do you truly let go of something that you really desperately want to be different? Radical acceptance means fully acknowledging what's happening in your life, even if you don't like it, rather than fighting against it or denying it. It's a mindfulness practice. Being present with what is creates emotional freedom. If you stop fighting against the things you can't control, you free up energy to use on the things that you can change. Learning this process can bring you an immense amount of emotional freedom, and it can stop you from suffering over a situation that's never going to change, no matter how much you might want it to. Hi, I'm Kristen. Years ago, I left a toxic marriage, and it took me getting out of that marriage to realize that I had repeated the cycles of emotional abuse and neglect in that marriage from my childhood. And after all of that, I had anxiety, depression, PTSD, codependence, and an anxious attachment style. And I've largely healed from all of these things, and now I'm combining my personal experience with over 30 years of experience as a registered nurse and nurse educator to teach you the things that I've learned so that you can heal too and lead a more joyful life. Have you ever felt like you were fighting against reality even though you knew it was futile? When I separated from my ex-husband, it wasn't hard for me to let go of the marriage from a romantic perspective. I was ready to move on, but it was much, much harder for me to let go of the idea that he would help me co-parent. And I felt for years and months, for months and years, I felt deep resentment towards him, and I carried that resentment with me. I held on to it. I walked around feeling like a victim, feeling angry and resentful a large portion of the time. If you've ever experienced anything like this, you know it's super painful. And honestly, I would say it's physically painful. Kind of in this withdrawn, tight, resentful feeling that ends up, hurting you and frankly, the people around you. I think about my kids. My kids were with me during this time where I was feeling this kind of victimization and resentment. And I know that they could feel it. They could feel that energy from me. The first step to radical acceptance is noticing and acknowledging. Noticing your thought patterns. Noticing this resentment. Noticing things like the statements here on the slide. Thinking things like, this shouldn't be happening. This isn't fair. That's a really big one. Kind of sticking to the idea that things aren't fair. And then having feelings of bitterness and anger and resentment. Noticing these things is the first step. If any of this is resonating with you, please click the like button. That really helps to ensure that more people get to see this. And if you're struggling to let go of a relationship, share something in the comments down below. If we want to stop having these thoughts, we're going to have to do something different. So what are we going to do instead? We're going to let go of the fight. So your resistance to the situation and your feeling that it isn't fair, it's not going to change it. So we're going to let go and we're going to stop arguing with the reality of what's happening. A helpful coping statement in times like this is something like, it is what it is. So if you're feeling victimized by someone, you just say, well, it is what it is. And you can see on the screen here that I've put this Mel Robbins podcast. She recently wrote a book called The Let Them Theory. And so the overly simplified idea behind this is that if somebody's doing something that really irritates you, you let them. You can't control it or change it, so you let them do it. This desire to want to control things and change things really starts to be kind of founded in the idea of codependence. So I definitely have a history with codependence, partly because I married a person who was, he was a substance abuser. He was an alcoholic. And when you're in a situation like that, you want to try to control and minimize the damage of the things that these people are doing. And you want to control their behavior and try to minimize any bad things that are happening as a result of their using. And you will come to realize over time that it's really not possible to do that. And so unfortunately, in situations like this, you have to let them and you have to let go. I did this a lot with my ex-husband. I thought that I could, if I could get out ahead of whatever situation was coming and I try to manipulate the situation to basically get him to do the things that I wanted him to do. And it just never worked. It's just not possible to control another person's behavior. If you're watching this, I'm assuming it's because you probably have some sort of a situation, either personally or a friend or something that has maybe been in a difficult relationship. And for anyone that's survived emotional abuse or neglect or toxic relationships, we've got a lot of healing to do. And I've put together a mental health resource guide that contains information about all the things that I've done over the past several years to heal myself. And I want to share those things with you so that you can heal too. There's a link in the description, and if you click it, I will send the resource guide to you for free. So this step in the process really boils down to being able to finally let go of the idea that we can change someone else's behavior. So we've noticed our negative thought patterns. We've started to let go of the fight. What else can we do to fully come to peace with the situation? We're going to turn our minds towards acceptance. This means that we're going to turn ourselves towards acceptance both physically and mentally. This doesn't mean that you approve of the situation. It just means that you are acknowledging its existence and trying to come to a place of peace with it. Part of acceptance is allowing yourself to feel the sadness and feel the disappointment of the fact that you didn't get to have this work out the way that you wanted to. You're right that it isn't fair. The situation isn't fair, and you're absolutely right about that. And that is sad. And it's important to allow yourself to have those feelings. You don't want to stick to it and grip it to it and resent it for the rest of your life, obviously. But having the sadness that goes along with letting go of all this is a really important part of the process. One of the things that helped me, especially physically, come to acceptance is that I would notice my body often, if I'm resisting something, my hands clasp. And so if I was, in a conflict with my ex-husband or whatever, or frustrated by the thought that he wasn't participating or couldn't participate, my hands would clench. And my noticing that and actually releasing them, letting them relax, letting my body relax, and coming to kind of a full, relaxed state of being was also an important part of this acceptance. And when you think about the amount of energy that you're expelling when you're gripping your hands or or getting tense because of frustration, if you can let that go and relax, and it takes practice, you might have to do it over and over and over again, but being able to do that, think about all of the energy that you're freeing up that you can use for yourself. And so it's great value in doing this practice. Mindfulness has been a big part of my healing journey. If we have the ability to see our thoughts and behaviors with clarity, we have the ability to change them. I recently just did a video series about rewiring our story. And this is about changing the thoughts and behavioral patterns that we ended up with as a result of abuse. And I'm linking that video series here, and you should probably go check that out.